Hello. Good to see you again. It's been 2 or 3 weeks, I think. I think longer. I think it's been three or 4 weeks since we last saw each other. So it's nice to see you. Thank you for stopping by. I'm just finishing up. I'm trying to make a habit more of writing, particularly in the mornings and in the evenings. My time tends to get taken up with something, of course, like everyone, and I'm trying to make it less frivolous and be more intentional about writing. So I have this new journal format. I don't really journal, so the daily entries, there's like a monthly sheet for kind of a monthly overview that I've enjoyed using, and then the daily entries usually end up just being kind of my commonplace book, like how I've done historically, because I've almost never done really well or consistently with journaling. My days just generally are not that exciting, and so I don't care to rehash them at the end of the day. So I'm just finishing that up, and that can do for now, so we can chat. And I'm sitting here. The weather has warmed up quite a bit in the last week and a half, I think. We went from 50s to really low 60s to this week we're supposed to get to the lowest, like high 70s, and then mid 80s. So it's warmed up quite a bit. So I'm enjoying it in the evenings. It can still get really hot during the day, but in the evenings it cools down a great deal. So that's very nice. And we're enjoying some Lafroig that we haven't gotten a drink for quite a while. But I'm sitting here and I'm about to jump into some reading that you caught me at an opportune time, actually. I'm getting ready to start on, and I've already started on, but really kind of dig deeper into the next epic poem that I'm wanting to write. So as you know, I finished The Griffin, and I really enjoyed the narrative poem. I think my favorite poem, other than like the longer ones like the Aeneid or something like that, my favorite poem is probably The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. I like the narrative aspect. I like that it has several layers on it, a bit like the medieval disciplines of the different senses in which you read scripture. The Rime of the Ancient Mariner has some literary depth to it, so I really enjoy that one. I enjoy the narrative aspect of poetry, and I have tried to write short stories before, and prose is just not the same. So I really enjoyed writing a narrative in poetry with The Griffin. And while I'm waiting for it to be published, and maybe that will never happen, and that's fine. But while I'm kind of working on that, I got the itch to kind of start on the next thing. And I had just wondered, what should it be? And one evening, it was about 2, maybe 3 months ago, I was just kind of sitting and not doing anything. I was just sitting quietly, just kind of thinking about this. And as will happen, it kind of struck me, and over the course of about 2 hours, I hammered out about 20 lines here and got them written down all nicely. So I think I might share this with you and see if you like it, and then we can talk about what it's about. So here we go. Of that courageous man I sing, whose love was stirred and hated by the haughty devil Lucifer, exiled himself from his Genoan shores to see, he long belabored Christ around the earth's degree, to take the Christ and make the Khan a Christian man, so he might give his aid to take Jerusalem, to usher in the eschaton, to make the way for Christ's return at the ending of our present age. But Providence decreed to found a realm and find a people wholly sundered from the eastern kind, to hear the firstmost sounding of the name of God and be baptized and ruled by Jesus' iron rod. all this accomplished, but whose happy ending failed, that doubt would hound the man who put to sea and sailed. And though his charted track was first repeated sound, 'twere not enough to grace his name upon the lands he found. The devil's works and pomps will always fail at last, but still he hated him, and through the filth he cast his name, and brings no other names to mind, who were the cause instead of heinous, hellish crimes. O Muse, now grace my lips and hear my fervent plea. Tell of Christopher, Admiral of the Ocean Sea. And so, of course, if you know the title Admiral of the Ocean Sea, or you might have picked up on any of those clues there, that of course is regarding Christopher Columbus. I grew up and learned about Christopher Columbus, I believe, in elementary school, late elementary school perhaps, and because it's elementary school, you don't get a lot of details, and so I generally had always had a fairly optimistic opinion of, or positive opinion of, Christopher Columbus. And as I grew older, just the popular understanding of Christopher Columbus is, of course, quite negative. And I didn't know enough to really have a firm opinion, other than the fact that I think it's generally silly to disparage someone who is responsible for your existence. For example, whether he was a good guy or a bad guy, I would not exist had Christopher Columbus not existed and done what he did. And so it seems so, well, he shouldn't have done that. Well, then if he didn't, you wouldn't be here to make that comment. And so it seemed a bit silly, but I never really knew enough. And about 3 years ago, I stumbled upon, kind of by accident, some scholarly literature on the life and the different voyages of Christopher Columbus, one of which was actually really interesting. The author Carol Delaney she's not a historian, she's an anthropologist, and she was looking at Christopher Columbus and his voyages and his life at large from this really interesting perspective of anthropology and not history. So she was concerned with, okay, what are his motivations, what's going on, and all that sort of thing. So, I mean, that was just fascinating. And after that, my opinion has very distinctly changed to, I think Christopher Columbus is without a doubt the greatest person who has ever sailed on the ocean. Bar none. In my mind, there's no equivalent. He is the greatest ancient mariner. Whether he was morally good or morally bad, his greatness is a different issue. I do also think, because of some of that research, that he was a lot better than we are generally led to believe on the popular level. And a lot of the issues can be laid at the feet of other men whom you never hear of. Like, I had never heard the name of Ovando or Roldan and all of these other players. And all you hear about is Christopher Columbus, even De las Casas. You almost never hear his name. It's anything good or bad is always laid at the feet of Christopher Columbus, and I think that's historically naive. So I'm starting to kind of jump back into some research because I do want to tell this epic. I mean, ultimately, I think it will be a comedy because we live in a universe that has a comic arc to it. But that doesn't mean that tragedy does not exist. And so I don't have any hesitation with painting the man as historically accurate as possible. Faults, which he had some faults, and then also things that he ought to be commended for. So, and I do want to tell this in such a way that it's a bit like we have like the Aeneid, we have the Iliad, we have the Odyssey, we have the matter of Britain, we have the matter of Troy, we have the matter of Britain, but we don't have this this literary legacy for the origination of, I think, the New World. I mean, maybe we do, and maybe I'm naive. And so I want this to be something on par of like the Aeneid. Of course, the Aeneid is, how the Romans, the Latins are founded, and they hail from Troy and how all of that happens. And so this is a little bit similar. I enjoyed writing The Griffin because I like English things. I mean, I think American culture is very largely English, because the colonies were so tied to Great Britain, of course. But I'm also like, my heritage is, I think, largely Scottish and largely Norwegian, but I'm not Scottish or Norwegian. I'm American, and I'm proud of and interested in my heritage, or, back several generations, but I'm American. And so I'm very much interested in telling America's story, an American story, as opposed to a distinctly English story or what have you. So that's kind of the beginnings there as I kind of jump into some research and my working title. And it did really seem kind of inspired, but my working title is the Colombiad. So we have the Iliad, and we have the Aeneid, and we have the Arthuriad. So now we'll have the Colombiad. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm interested to hear what you think about it, and I look forward to seeing you next time and our discussions until then. Again, thanks for dropping by.